there's over 200 games that we can play with our dogs. You know, it's we can make up new games all the time. But the key is knowing what your dog's particular struggle is and then playing just a handful of games for each one of those struggles. And you can really change their personality. You know, you can really significantly change their outlook from, you know, becoming a more confident dog or calmer or whatever it is that you need them to do.
Welcome to the Call the Vet Show, the podcast that helps pet parents understand and optimize the health of their furry family, so they can live the full and happy life you want for them. And here's your host, veterinarian Dr. Alex Avery.
A huge focus in wellness and in pet health is clearly physical health. And this is something that I've talked about time and again with obesity, with dental disease, with arthritis, with all of my expert guests that I've had on the show over the last few years. But one thing that is becoming increasingly apparent to me, or maybe something that I'm just spending a bit more time thinking about, is actually the mental well-being of our dogs and how all too often they are left to their own devices. They're very bored. They are not given the stimulation that they're needed. They're fed in bowls that are emptied in 2 seconds flat so they don't have to work for their food, and how this lack of stimulation is actually preventing them from living their best life. And so today I'm delighted to bring you an interview with the fantastic Niki French, who is a dog trainer with a really important message. And the headline for this message is Stop Walking Your Dog. But before you turn off and think that that's the craziest thing you've ever heard, and if that was the only part of the message, it would be, really the key points that Niki talks about are all of the other things that we should be doing to exercise our dogs, to entertain them mentally, to give them the stimulation that they need. Because actually for a lot of dogs, heading out to the busy dog park, going out and walking down the road with all the traffic passing by them, interacting with all the strangers and the different stimulations can even be overwhelming. And actually going for a walk can be an incredibly stressful situation. So while we want to get them to the point where they're enjoying their walks, there's so many other things that we should be thinking about. And that goes for those of you whose dogs absolutely love going for their walk and you simply can't keep up with the demand for the exercise that they want. So this is such an important message that Niki is sharing. I think it's so crucial for the overall well-being of your dog that you consider the mental stimulation, the level of interaction and training that they are getting. And this is something for every single dog owner to concentrate on. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Here's this episode's expert interview.
Niki, welcome along to the show. Really pleased to be talking to you today. Welcome along.
Oh, it's so good to be here. I love talking to you. You know that.
Well, it's a bit overdue, isn't it? So I've been waiting for the right opportunity, and the book that you've written is The Right Opportunity, which we'll jump into later. But before we get into that and our main topic for today, I'd love you to just kind of introduce yourself and let us know how you became a dog trainer, because you've kind of gone around the houses before you kind of ended up with your dream job ultimately.
It's just a little bit, 30 years around the houses. So the short answer is I've only actually been working with dogs full time for the last 3 years. I was dog mad, animal mad my whole life. Summer holidays were spent on a family farm with working sheepdogs and feral cats. And I was the little kid that would try to tame every wild animal that I came across. And I actually wanted to be a vet, until I found out that you didn't get to just cuddle them and they didn't all get better. And I very quickly changed my career aspirations. So I had a 30-year career in sales and marketing in the property industry. I was the lead sales director on the Athletes Village for the London 2012 Olympics. So sort of corporate career, 30 years. And I actually had a bike accident. I was knocked off my bicycle, and that was 2014. And I had some niggling mental and physical issues, nothing horrendous, but it just made me reappraise what I wanted out of life. And I spent probably 3 years going, what am I going to do with myself? I hadn't even been able to have a dog as an adult because I worked such long hours. And then it just came to me in a light bulb moment. And within 24 hours, I'd signed up for some training. I spent months retraining. I resigned. I set up my own business 3 months later, and Pup Talk and Twickenham Dog Services was born in 2019. So I now have my own dog finally as an adult, rather than just borrowing everybody else's. So I have Bodhi. He's my rescue Collie Lurcher cross, and he's a massive part of the business. So yeah, it took me a long time, but at 50, I had a complete change of life, complete change of career. And it is the best thing I have ever done.
That's amazing. And yeah, life turns on its head. And I guess, yeah, life's got a funny way of bad things turning into good if you look for those good things, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I do look at the accident and go, thank goodness, because I probably wouldn't have been kicked into changing my life if that hadn't happened at that point. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I grew up with dogs as well, and I'm in a similar situation. You know, as a vet, I still don't feel that my life situation is such that actually I'd be able to provide for a dog how I would like to. So we've got cats who are a little bit more self-sufficient, and we wouldn't be without them.
I had 4 cats in my corporate life for exactly that reason, just to kind of tide me over. Yeah,
but there will be a dog one day. I don't know when that will be, but yeah, it may not be till many years. There's all kinds of different things that you'll have come across as a dog trainer, all kinds of different problems that I'm sure you're seeing every day. But we're going to talk today about kind of nervous, reactive and over-excitable dogs. What made you kind of recognise that was a problem that people needed to know more about?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think there's a lot of misconceptions of people that when they get a dog, they think, well, I get a dog and I walk them every day. And there's actually quite a large number of dogs, and I was seeing them with my training clients, that actually the walks were a really difficult part of their day. And if you've got a dog that is nervous or reactive, often people will label aggressive dogs, but actually they're just really scared of the environment. Or even like my own dog, when I first got Bodhi, he was very overexcitable. And when you put them in the situation that they struggle with, they are way past being able to learn anything. So it was really working with an increasing number of clients that I was saying to them, you need to either reduce or you need to stop actually walking your dog. And for most people, that's a kind of a, what? Hang on a minute. Of course I take my dog for a walk. What are you talking about? And they think that, well, we'll do more of it, or we'll try and do it in quieter places, or really early in the morning or late at night when we might not see some of the things that cause them to get worried or overexcited. But the reality of it, that's really, really difficult to do. You can't control everything around you in the environment. But the one thing you can control is whether you go out of your front door or not. And I think that's a massive mental hurdle for people to get over. People think that that's cruel if you don't walk your dog, or, even if you can see the benefit of not taking them out, other people around you will be, well, what are you doing? They need more exercise, get them more tired. That's the solution. But actually it's the opposite that's true. And some of my clients that did stop walking their dogs altogether for a period of time saw some amazing results, because you can grow the skills that they need at home in an environment where they're not getting scared, they're not getting triggered, or they're not getting really overexcited. But it's a massive hurdle for people. Yeah,
I mean, it is that mental shift, because a lot of people actually they'll get a dog to go walking, and almost they're recognizing that they need that health input themselves, and a dog will actually force them to get out of the house. So to then turn around and say, well, actually, that's not what we need to be doing is big.
Yeah, massive. But even if it's for just a short period of time, what we can do is we can grow the skills they need at home. And, it's not just don't walk your dog and you sit on the sofa and you don't do anything. You need to do other things instead. It doesn't need to take as long as it does walking a dog, because actually when you're playing mind and physical fitness games at home, I think it's kind of like airline miles. What you can do in 10 minutes at home would take you a good 30 minutes plus to just tire out a dog on a more straightforward walk, or chucking a ball around for them in the park. Obviously, which I know neither of us are not a fan of.
There's all problems with that.
You can do so much more at home, but then you can give them the skills that they need so that they're then ready to go out and have a walk. And I think the other thing is from the people perspective, is that if you have a dog that struggles on walks, I saw some of my clients becoming very kind of like, they're kind of steeling themselves to go for a walk, thinking, well, is this going to be a good walk or is this going to be a bad walk? And of course, the more apprehensive they are of what's going to happen when they're on the walk, the more the dog's going to pick up on that and think, oh, there's something I need to get worried about. And the more likely it is to happen. So it can become a bit of a negative cycle. So then the walks that should have been a pleasurable experience for both dog and guardian becomes a stressful experience, and it just becomes a bit of a negative cycle. So just being able to break that cycle can be incredibly helpful. Yeah,
absolutely. So when we're thinking of, we could have at the very beginning, dogs need walks. I guess what they need is stimulation, some physical stimulation, but actually a lot of it's mental stimulation. So what are we replacing these walks with? What kind of tools and games and training are people doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously dogs' nose is their number one sense. So anything that is involving their nose is fantastic. So it can be simple scent finding games. When, even if you've got a dog that you don't think has a particularly good nose, even the flat face, the brachycephalic dogs, they still have incredible senses of smell compared to us. So getting them to use their sense of smell to find food, to find toys around the home is incredibly powerful. And the act of sniffing is very, very calming for them. So that really helps. But it will be about playing games that are specific for the dog and how their brain is currently. So if you've got a dog that is very overexcitable, my dog, a lot of what we were doing were games that promoted calmness. Now, that doesn't mean just sit still and do nothing, but it would mean games that involve movement and their brain, but generally in a calmer way. Dogs that are nervous, we can play games that help promote their sense of confidence. So it could be, as simple as a cardboard box, scattering some of their daily food allowance in and around a cardboard box, depending on if they're incredibly nervous. It might be a little pile of cardboard boxes, and getting them to go and investigate and find the food or find a toy in and amongst objects that might touch them, might move, might make some noise, that can actually help grow their sense of confidence. So there's very specific games, and there's over 200 games that we can play with our dogs. It's we can make up new games all the time, but the key is knowing what your dog's particular struggle is, and then playing just a handful of games for each one of those struggles. And you can really change their personality. You can really significantly change their outlook from, becoming a more confident dog or calmer or whatever it is that you need them to do.
Yeah. So with that in mind, how do people recognize that they might be thinking, when you were talking about that anxiety before they walk, they might be, really recognizing themselves in that. But if they're maybe not worried and they're just thinking, oh, well, they're just a bit overexcited and they just can't wait to go. How do people recognize that actually that's not the case and they need to dial things back?
I think a lot of them are fairly obvious. If your dog is nervous, I think the thing is to know what your dog's body language looks like. Really start to look at them. Videoing can be very helpful. Pop your phone on the floor and take a video of your dog, or get someone to video your dog walking down the street with you, and pay attention to what their ears are doing. How are they carrying their tail? Are they desperately pulling towards things, or do they seem a bit reluctant? Do you notice little things like, actually, when you pick up their harness and their lead, are they a bit kind of like, not so sure? Or, are they not too keen about jumping in the car? So I think a lot of it is about observation and really starting to pay attention to what they do and how they are. And, pay attention to what your dog is trying to tell you. We don't speak the same language naturally, but if your dog is barking at another dog, it might look like it's, stay away, and some people say, oh, my dog's jealous of someone else approaching me, and that's a human emotion, but the dog is saying in that moment they're not comfortable. And what we tend to view as sort of aggressive is a big word, but some kind of aggressive display is very often I'm not comfortable in this situation. I'm barking to either keep you away, or I'm barking to try and change my state. So I do see people saying, oh, don't worry, there's nothing to worry about. But the dog doesn't understand what that means. It's saying it's not happy. So for me, the best thing is to, do a 180, give them some of their food as you walk away, and try and create a positive experience for it, but not putting them in the situation where they're sort of having to tell you they're not comfortable.
Yeah, I love that. You kind of want to set them up for success rather than, force them into a situation where it's only going to fail. I wonder if, I wonder what you'll think of this, because I mean, you see dogs all day, every day, and so do I, and you learn to read those subtle cues. And actually, until I've been doing kind of more like this fear-free training and things that I've gone through, nothing that I learnt there was revolutionary to me, but it allowed me to actually put into words the things that I was, reading from the dog. So, but that comes with a lot of practice. And so I wonder if a lot of the time, with the dogs that you're seeing have got a problem, they are at actually quite an advanced level, because it does, those subtle cues are often missed.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily. I do see dogs at all stages, and even if we're talking about puppies before they've had very long to sort of form their personality in one direction or another, there are things that you can do, there are things that you can observe, and to be honest, every single dog can benefit probably from being calm more of the time, probably more confident. Even the dogs that you might think are really, really confident, you need to keep topping things up over time. Events can happen. I don't know about you, but this year we had so many fireworks for so long. I mean, they were going on for sort of 2.5 weeks. And I know that dogs that previously were okay with fireworks were really struggling towards the end of that period, because it was just building. So even if nothing bad happens, another dog doesn't rush up to them or something like that, it's still a good thing to top up all of these things in a dog that is perfectly happy and perfectly, outgoing. You can always top these things up. And as dogs get older, they also their personalities can change a little bit. Obviously, canine cognitive decline is really very underdiagnosed, I think, isn't it, a lot of the time?
Yeah.
Just the act of getting old, it's the same as us. Our brains start to, break down and, stiffen up a little bit. So I think there's always a good reason to top up certain parts of their behaviour that are just going to stand them in good stead, just so that they can just be calm and happy, no matter what they're faced with.
Yeah. And what I love about this as well is that I think we're moving away from, just in general, and even those dogs that cope, very well with walks, and they love their walks, and they're, very low stress. I think we're recognizing more and more the importance of this mental stimulation at home, and that it's simply not enough to walk your dog and then you go out to work and they're home alone all day with nothing to do, because I think that causes a huge amount of, even if it's not causing problems, it's just their quality of life is substandard for what it could be.
Yeah, exactly that. And there is so much that we can, and a walk is a human invention. Wild dogs don't take themselves from A to B in a straight line at the same pace. They just mooch around, they run, they play, they sniff, they sit down, they chill out for a while. A walk is very much our invention. And even, I take my dog for a walk, although I tell some people, stop walking your dog. I do take my dog for a walk. I'm not saying everybody should not walk their dog. But what I do is I take my dog's breakfast, or I take his dinner. He doesn't get any of his food in a bowl. It goes into a little bag. It goes into my pocket or my walking pouch. And when we're out and about, we'll play some games when we're in the middle of the park, or if there's a nice little pile of leaves. I'll throw some of the tastier bits of food into a pile of leaves and get him to go and find them. So I'm creating little scent finding games when we're out in the park, or I'll just start throwing some of his kibble around in the middle of the park. So, we call that orientation game. So he's chasing down a piece of food, he eats it, and he lifts his head and he comes charging back towards me because he's enjoying running around and chasing some of his food. So to avoid that kind of boring walk on a lead, or the sort of the other end of the spectrum of take them to the park and just repetitively throw a ball for them, and then wear out their joints and their ligaments and end up seeing people like you. Just a little bit of intention and a little bit of planning, and you can play some super simple games for 2-3 minutes at a time that completely change how much stimulation, how happy and restful they can be. My dog's got a collie brain. He should need to be able to, he can work and work and work and work, but I can go and play games in the garden with him for 5 minutes and he'll settle down for a snooze. It's not about having an hour or two of full on exercise.
I mean, you look at those farm dogs, and we see quite a lot of farm dogs, and they actually spend a lot of their time tied up on the back of the truck or in their kennel, or just watching the stock, not actually having that intensive exercise. And sure, there's periods of the time, but they are happy, content dogs that aren't, they want to work, but they're not suffering because of that lack of exercise by any means.
Yeah, they're ready to turn it on when they need to.
Yeah,
but they don't need to be doing all the time. Yeah. And it's because they're getting a great level of stimulation, with the environment, and dogs love a job to do. They're so much more happy working for food than just getting that food in a shiny bowl in the corner of our kitchen, and they've had their nutrition, and then they're hassling you to do something, and you're like, I'm busy. You can avoid that kind of situation really easily.
Yeah, and not only have they not had to work for that food, but they've eaten it in 20 seconds flat. So that's that stimulation over, and they'll often overeat as a result of that, which has caused us huge problems, which I've talked about many a time. Kind of what you were saying is that all of those games, the scattering of the kibble and the boxes, it doesn't involve a lot of money, it doesn't involve a lot of output, it's just a bit of intentionality, really.
Absolutely. For me, before it's recycling day, I will be looking in that and thinking, right, what can I use? And it might be a plastic milk carton, and I can pop a few bits of food in that, and I can just pop it down, and my dog will, pick it up and trot out into the garden, pleased as punch, like he's got a new toy. He'll bat it around the garden till the kibble falls out. He'll have worked really hard for 5 or 10 pieces of dinner. And, and then I put the recycling out. So, most of it is free. Towels, you can use towels just to make a snuffle mat. You can get lovely snuffle mats, and they're wonderful, but they're not cheap. You can just grab a towel, scrunch it up with your hand, and scatter some of their food in that, and it will just take them that bit longer. They'll either work out that they can pick it up and rag it. That took brain power to work that up, or they'll delicately pick out each of the pieces. And a lot of people I see also say, my dog's not that foodie, they're not that into their kibble food and their dry food. And to be honest, it's because that, food in a bowl is inherently not interesting. There's no experience with it. The environment creates all sorts of experiences of smells and, squirrels and birds moving around, making noises. And as soon as we start creating little experiences with their food, they can actually enjoy their basic dry food so much more. So you end up not having to use loads and loads of treats. That you just create an experience so that they enjoy the experience of finding and working for the food so much more than just woof out of a bowl, gone, and then you've got a dog that's hassling you to do something else.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we speak a lot about in different situations about anthropomorphism and, putting our human characteristics onto our dogs. And, we eat for pleasure an awful lot of the time. And sure, if you give them something super tasty, then they will eat for that pleasure as well. But picky dogs, in inverted commas, is often because actually they're not hungry. So why would they eat? But we worry so much, and we express our love through giving them food, whereas we could express it through, this extra attention and providing all of these different games and that kind of thing. And so for people who want to, who are maybe saying, well, actually, I recognize that my dog doesn't have a problem at the moment, but maybe they're getting old, and so there's a bit of cognitive decline, or they're a bit arthritic, and so maybe getting a bit more grumpy and anxious because of that. How can they go about preventing this problem? Is it simply a case of providing these food puzzles and that's all that they need to do, or is there other things they can think about?
Yeah, it's not just food puzzles, but it's also the games that you play, and a lot of it is about boosting the relationship that you have with them. I mean, that's another great thing about the games, is that you're often working together as a team. So, a simple game like hand touch, getting your dog to hand touch with their nose touch your hand and moving your hand around, and then they get the rewards. It's playing games that are constantly just stretching their mind a little bit, and it's fun for us to actually teach them something new, and it doesn't need to be difficult and it doesn't need to take long, but it's an incredible relationship boosting thing. And I think the thing is looking at your dog and look at what they are, what their personality is doing, and think of what the opposite of that is. So, for a dog that is starting to look nervous, the opposite of that is a dog that's confident and happy. And so it's then about playing the games that are going to help them grow their confidence, whether it's, that's like the cardboard crashing kind of game or something like that, or even, like that milk carton, putting some of their dry food in a milk carton. When they knock it over and they try and get the kibble, that starts to make noises. So noise-making games can be good to help grow confidence. It could also be fitness games, as their muscle tone starts to deteriorate and their flexibility starts to deteriorate. Simple little games, like perhaps putting their front paws up onto an object, can just get you can just like taking some of the food. You can get some nice little stretches going, so you can get their fitness and their flexibility. So it's about looking at your dog and thinking, right, what do they need right now? Where do they seem to be struggling? And it just comes back to that observation thing. But there is literally a game for everything that you could possibly want to do for your dog. So.
Yeah, fantastic. And then for people who are working through, because they've stopped walking, which is a big mindset shift, but they want to start again. How quickly, I mean, it's going to vary hugely, I know, but how quickly kind of can we expect to get them out and about?
Yeah, I think it's about thinking, reframing what a walk is. A walk is basically, let's look at it as a circuit of coming out of your front door. You might go up and down the pavement, or you might go around your car, or you might go down your driveway and back in again. A walk is just a longer version of that. So thinking about what you want your walk to look like, and if you want that walk to look like your dog not pulling, your dog sort of trotting nicely along at your side, looking up at you because they know that you've got their breakfast in your pocket, it might just be out of the front door, a very tiny circuit, whatever looks good, and then back in and play some little games in your hallway. It could even be as small as playing some of the games with your dog on the lead with the front door open. It can be as small as that. And how quickly you take it, actually, the slower you start off, the quicker you go, because what you want to do is not put them in a situation where they felt the need to, be barking and lunging at a dog that went, that they saw at the other end of the street. So grow it in small increments and keep playing the games to boost, the confidence or the calmness at home. And then they'll actually make big strides further on. How it could just be you just need a 2-week holiday from not walking them, just to kind of reset and grow some games. Some of my clients have stopped walking their dogs for 3 to 4 months, and then they go back to building it up in sort of like a little alleyway that they know that they can go to, and they're not likely to see anything that worries them. And some of my clients say to me, I say to them, well, how often do you walk your dog? And now they say, well, it's somewhere between 1 and 5 walks a week. And I look at the dog each morning and I just kind of go, how's she doing? What does she look like she's ready for? How they start the day really does set the tone for how they are for the rest of the day. So if they had, perhaps a bad night, maybe they didn't sleep through the night, or they've got an upset tummy or something, maybe that day is the day that you go, today's maybe not a great day to take them for a walk. So, there's no hard and fast rules. It is very much what feels right, and try it. And also, if you go for a walk and it doesn't end up looking right, don't beat yourself up. It's just giving you information that says, okay, they're not quite ready for this right now. And you can step it back to something that they could cope with, a loop around the car and back in again, or something like that. Or, if you've got places that you can go to where you can hire fields and things like that, there are other things that you can do. But yeah, don't beat yourself up. Just look at everything as useful information that you can maybe tailor what you do the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess with a lot of these problems, and recognizing the problem is the first, huge step. And then as long as you're working on it, we all have ups and downs and, successes and some failures, and it's just learning from those and knowing that you're on, this journey that may take, that 2 weeks or may take 3-4 months or longer. I mean, that's a horrible question to ask, because I know it depends on, how much work you put in and what the problem is.
People ask, how long is it going to take me?
Yeah.
No, it's an understandable question, because, if you're in a situation that you want to change, being motivated to want to change it is a good thing. And I do encourage people just to, make some notes of what they're struggling with, or, you can just keep a little tracker of your day. What percentage of your day is your dog spending in a calm state? Because if they are struggling out on walks, there's probably a fairly good likelihood that they might also be barking at dogs that go past the front window, or barking at birds in the garden, or getting really overexcited when visitors come to the house. Generally these things can go together. So, keeping some kind of tracker can be useful, just to sort of take note, and then think, actually, in 2 weeks' time, after we did this, actually, noticeably, our dog was calmer for longer periods of time.
It provides that reference point, because when things are happening so slowly, or potentially so slowly, and you're so invested, you don't feel like you're making any progress.
And we tend to focus on the things that didn't go right, rather than the little wins. And it's a lot of what I get people to do is, tell us something that your dog really did well this week. Find something. There is always something.
Niki, this is a fascinating topic, and it's it's very much not in my wheelhouse, which is why I love talking to you and other people who are experts in their field. For those people who are hearing this and thinking, well, that could be my dog, or I don't want that to be my dog, tell us a little bit more about your book, where people can find that, and where you'd like to send them to.
Yeah, so the book is called Stop Walking Your Dog, just to get people's attention. But even if you don't want to stop walking your dog, it's packed with lots and lots of tips and steps to go through. And it also follows a little bit of my journey becoming a dog trainer and with my dog Bodhi. There's lots of games in there, and there's also a link to all of the videos that I talk about in the book, so people can actually see the games being played as well. So it's available on Amazon and Kindle, and you just need to search for Stop Walking Your Dog, and it should be super easy to find. If you want to get in touch with me, my website is www.puptalk.co.uk. There's always a contact form, or to get in touch with me there. You can find out more about me there.
Fantastic. I'll leave all those links in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for your time, Niki. We'll have to have a chat and about your next topic, because I think dog behavior and dog training is underappreciated in the fact that the impact that it can have on a dog's well-being is just so huge. So thank you for the work that you do, and thanks for sharing that message with us today.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Helping your pet live the happy, healthy life they deserve.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts on Niki's message and all of the things that you do to keep your dog mentally stimulated. What are their favourite activities, their favourite toys? How have you recycled your empty bottles or your cardboard boxes to create the ultimate snuffle mat, or whatever it is that your dog really enjoys using to get their food? I'd love to hear all of your top tips. You can share them with me over on Instagram, where you'll find me at Our Pets Health, or leave me a comment in the show notes, where you'll also find a link to buy Niki's book on Amazon, as well as all of the other links that we discussed in today's conversation. And because this message is so important, I'd love it if you would help me share it far and wide. So jump on the social media platform of your choice and hit that share button. Send it on a WhatsApp message to a friend or family member who you feel really needs to hear this message, so that their dog really can live the full and happy life that they deserve. So thank you in advance for doing that. And until the next episode, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex. This is the Call the Vet Show. Take care.
That's it for this episode of the Call the Vet Show. Be sure to visit callthevet.org to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. We'll see you next time.